Good day. How y'all doing? Well, we were discussing, school has just started and everything, and some of us were discussing a little while ago just some of the local school systems and some of what they're doing to curb security threats, e.g., kids who might get violent or whatever. And one of them at least came up with this whole thing. Apparently, they've got what they call a calm room. They I guess they when people are upset, they put them in there to calm down. I guess that's supposed to kind of take the edge off. I don't know, but it just kind of brought up the question: do you really feel secure in sending your kid to that school system? Ugh, knowing there's a calm room. Well, I don't know. Being an old geezer, we didn't really have the calm room. We did have some measures kind of similar to that. I was trying to think when I was in school. You get those incidents in school where you become upset and maybe you get frustrated with what the teacher wants you to do and you throw your books across the room and you get really mad and you overturn your desk and you throw yourself on the ground and you start thrashing around screaming and crying and yelling and eventually the adults grab you and they kind of drag you away. Well, in incidents like that excuse me, in incidents like that, I was dragged into this empty classroom, nearly empty classroom. There may be a couple of desks, a couple little desks, and it was just very dimly lit. It's very, just nothing going on in there except hello presto. Except they had this old-fashioned radiator, the kind with the coils and all that. This old-fashioned radiator that just sat there on the other side of the room and it kept going ping at intervals. Ping, ping. And after a while, when you're sitting there with no one to talk to, you're just there by yourself. You sit there in that room and it's just going ping, ping. Well, nothing can calm you more and center you more than being stuck in a room that goes ping. I found that out from firsthand experience. But, I had a lot of experiences with the room that goes ping over the years. It's just like say, Brian Harris and some of his big, douchebag buddies from the football team walk down the corridor and they slam you into a locker and they call you a fucking dummy or they call you a dirty dick sucking dog or whatever it is that passes for an insult in their crew. And then maybe you just completely lose it and you just have this demoralizing life and you've been through this day in day out forever. And the asshole is going out with the girl you like, which makes it even worse. And so eventually you just flip out and you start screaming and you throw your desk and you throw your papers again. And they get up in the guy's face and maybe you got like broken glass or something. And you go, ah! And you cut them all up. And, you just maul their faces. And, because you're not much of a puncher, you just got glass. I was never very strong. It's like I land a punch, it's like a feather. So, you scratch them up with broken glass, and then they put you in the room that goes ping. And it's very relaxing, and it settles you down, and it's nice and quiet, and kind of dark. And so you've got time to just kind of become zen. Just there are other things, other kind of situations. Speaking of big bra, I remember the day I had this part-time job working at a hobby shop on the weekends, And me and this one buddy of mine like went to Jorgensen's Burger Basket. Don't look for it anymore. It's not there. I got eaten up by Sunshine. But you sitting there eating our cartilage nuggets and our rat burgers and whatever. And so my crush Cheryl Kingsley comes walking in, and she's arm in arm with Big Bry there, and she's holding him. He's got her arm around his waist, and her hand is looped into his belt loop. Now this, I have held a crush for this girl for like 3 years, and here's this guy who beats me up every day and calls me a fucking dummy and a dick sucking dog and whatever. And man, I just couldn't take it anymore. And so I said, I'll be right back. And my buddy's just like, oh yeah, well hurry right back, because he couldn't stand me either. And so I run to the little boys' room in Jorgensen's, and I just lock myself in the bathroom stall. And I'm just contemplating it for a sec. I just start crying and crying and crying, and I start smashing my face against the tile wall and smashing my face against porcelain, and crying and throwing up and crying and throwing up and crying and throwing up. And finally I just kind of get a hold of myself, and I'm like, okay, 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 okay. And I start crying and throwing up and crying and throwing up and crying and throwing up some more. And so finally I was done with that, and I stood up and got out of the stall, and I was kind of wobbling. I was kind of wobbly after that, and just like a brand new baby walking into a brand new world. And this dad walks in there to use the bathroom with his kid, his little son, and they both stare at me like they just saw the Holocaust or something. It's terrible. And it was just the most horrific expressions on their faces. And I just looked at them and just kind of looked at them vaguely and just kind of smiled, with, puke all over my teeth, no doubt, and whatever. And I just walked past them and walked back out. And, there's something about sitting in the bathroom and puking and crying and self-mutilating and puking and crying and all that stuff in that bathroom, in that toilet stall. It kind of, after a while, has the same effect going for it as the room that goes ping. It just kind of brings you back to ground zero. And so maybe it's not a bad thing. And so telling those funny stories from my youth, it's really nice, because I do these little routines. I make up these little routines, and maybe we feel like we're all very far apart, and you might find it kind of horrifying, but if you stop and think about it, you realize how close we really are, and you realize just maybe how much we have in common. And so, I get to tell these funny little jokes, and then we kind of sit there and realize all our commonalities, and then maybe we can all be friends.